Science tells us that we are made up of cells and atoms. And science also tells us that atoms are 99.999999% space, energy, information. So if that's true, we're walking energy in motion. And energy always wants to be coherent. Energy always wants to be in a coherent state. It's always trying to be in a coherent state. It's always trying to organize itself to be coherent, to be harmonious. And there's lots of examples of this in science. And if that's true, then and we're walking energy, then we're always wanting to be in a coherent state. Our bodies, the physiology of our bodies, and the energy, the homeostasis and the coherence is wanting to be always in a coherent state, in a harmonious state. And this is how the human experience functions. We learn by other people. I don't know if you've ever seen that experiment. It was on a television show years ago, and I don't even remember what it's called, but the experiment was a woman at a front desk, and it was like an eye doctor's office or some kind of doctor's office, and it was an open concept area. She was at a front desk, and she was, I think, part of the experiment. And the patients would come in and sit down, and then a buzzer would go off, and one person would stand up and then sit back down again. And then other people would come into the office, and the buzzer would go off, and then one would stand up, and they would look at the other ones and think that was weird, but then eventually just go ahead and stand up. And so eventually every single person in the office, by mirroring what everyone else is doing, because energy wants to be coherent, would get up, stand up when the buzzer went off, not even knowing the reason why they were doing what they were doing. They followed the frequency of the room. They learned by example. They were matching their human experience without even knowing why. They were matching their human experience because everything wants to be coherent. And that one person who decided not to, if there's a person in that group that said, I'm not doing that, it's going to feel incoherent to them and to the rest of the people because they're doing something against the energy of coherence that's been created in this space. It'll feel uncomfortable. Have you ever tried to get up in front of a room of people who believe one thing and you try to have an opposing perspective, what you're going to be greeted with? You can feel that energy because it's incoherent to the rest of the group's energy. We all want to be in this coherent state, collective consciousness. You thinking one thing and coming together with a group of people thinking something collectively. That's how we create. That's how we learn from each other. So who are you and what are you collectively creating with?